All right, family, we are back with another Art Talk conversation. All right, so this is a little different because a lot of times you've probably seen me on here with different men of God talking about the position of the husband and what it is to be a father and all those things. So we're taking a little deviation for this because a couple of weeks back I was like, you know what, Lord, I would like to interview a woman who has been married. And I was like, I can't think of any off the top. And the Holy Spirit wasn't giving me any signals, right? So the Lord was like, you got one right in front of your face. So we're doing something a little different. We're talking to my wife today. I'm so excited. We're talking to my wife of 17 years today. Her name is Joy. For some of y'all who may have never had the pleasure to meet her. And we're going to be talking about the growth of a woman because she's not only a wife, but she's a mother and she's an entrepreneur. I'm so proud of her and I'm excited for how this conversation is going to go. Joe, how are you doing today?
I am doing well. Fancy meeting you here. It's a beautiful day. We woke up with air in our breath, so it's good. I'm
That's
excited.
it. That's it, man. It is a beautiful day. And I'm so glad to be able to have this conversation with you. So I'm looking forward to this because we're going to talk about this journey from your perspective, right?
Uh-oh.
Because I wanted to, here's what my criteria was before we get into this, because I'm going to have you tell the people about yourself. I wanted to talk to a woman of God who'd been married for some years, one who has a favorable attitude towards marriage, not someone just just maybe just waiting if their husband just fall off the earth, they really wouldn't mind. You find someone that's married, but it's good to have a relationship where you actually like the institution of marriage and the person you're in it with, and you see the value and God's blessing of family and children. I mean, you've even gone another step with it, right? So I said, wow, I'm looking forward to this because you got an experience that I'd like to hear your thoughts on. And I think that your thoughts could help someone else. So I'm looking forward to this. I'll tell you this. Can you start off telling everyone a little about yourself?
So again, my name is Joy. I have been married for 17 years. I work for the government. I have two beautiful children. We have two beautiful children, a 14-year-old and 11-year-old, and also an entrepreneur. Um, my foundation is God, of course. Everything is based off of um, God's will. If it's not of God, I don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't care how it looks, how it feels to others. And that could be an uncomfortable space, but that's basically my foundation is God's will. That's how I raise my children. That's how I'm a wife. That's how I'm a homemaker. That's how I'm a nurturer. That's how I'm a business owner. That's how I'm a worker. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Come on. I like that. Great intro. Before we get into it, did you tell how long we've been married?
Yeah, 17 years.
17 years. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So we want to talk about this because even in just my mind, I know that who I am in this 17th year is not who I was 17 years ago. Right?
Same here.
Right. So with you giving that intro, we're going to start with the journey of being a wife, right? Here's what I
Mm.
want to ask you. I want to ask the person that you are now. I want to ask you, what has your journey of being a wife entailed? What did you learn? What have you learned now about being a wife that you didn't know 17 years ago? Start with the journey of just getting married and what you have learned up till today, how you've grown.
Right. Just some backstory. I was married at 23 years old,
Yeah.
just turning 24. So what I thought I knew and what I read is not exactly what I lived.
Mm.
So I go back to the young Joy at 23 getting married. you have these butterflies in your stomach, or like, oh, if I love this person, it's just gonna be great. And just thinking that's all it took,
Yeah.
even having seen marriage in front of me my whole life, or having seen others or relationships, you just have these naive thoughts that, okay, if I just have the love, then everything else will just fall in place. And of course, the love is
Yeah.
there 100%. But what I've learned now is, if I could go back and tell Joy something in her 23-year-old self, I would say, you can't do it all without God.
Mm.
You can't be it all. You can't love it all. You can't work it all
Yeah.
without that. I felt like I was running out of steam.
Yeah.
And that's when you running a race. A lot of what I found myself personally, I was running a race that I couldn't keep up anymore.
Mm.
And so that's when I was like, okay, something is missing in my life. And that was that foundation. Of course, most of us, we grew up in church, we love God, but a lot of times we love God, but we don't live it.
Come on.
We don't surrender. And that surrendering even now is a process, because
Yeah.
you want to even go deeper with that. But once you surrender, you're not so responsible for everything.
Yeah.
um and I would tell my younger self, you don't have to be everything to everybody.
Woo. Come
That
on.
that's one thing I've really learned, because I used to take that on myself.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was running out of steam. And just know that it's a process. When I got married, I was like, oh, we're in love, I can
Yeah.
just do this, and it's gonna be great, until bam, something happens. That's life.
Till some differences happen and some
Absolutely.
disappointments and some unexpected events, right?
Yes. You're like, whoa, where did that come from?
I
So,
think you're touching on something so big because
right.
just as a nature, a lot of us, especially from our generation, we were taught, you do it on your own, you pull
Mm-hmm.
yourself up by your bootstrap, you handle your own
Yes.
issues, you give a
Yes.
strong face, you don't go
Yes.
whining about your problems, you hold it all
Yes.
in, and that, you just do it to yourself. So I love that you're talking about this kind of weight that we can experience where you
Mhm.
can get exhausted. And a
Yes.
lot of times we get exhausted, then we blame ourselves instead of turn to God. We just become
Yes.
more negatively There's a constructive criticism, then there's a destructive criticism
Mm.
that I think you very well laid out. Destructive criticism, the burnout, the exhaust, and sometimes we
Yeah.
realize because we don't have the right fuel in
Mm-hmm.
God. Talk to
Yes.
me about this process in you growing as a wife, you finding the fuel of that relationship in God, in Christ. How did that change you as a wife?
Man, it changed everything. I feel like I can look back 5, 10 years ago. I'm like, man, I'm just not the same person I
Yeah.
was, and God be the glory for that. Um, but just the journey, how it changed was the trust and the faith.
Yeah.
The faith really has opened up so many doors. Not even like just stuff or anything. It's just mental stability.
Yeah.
Having that faith and just comfort, and then just having a spouse that will allow me to find my space.
Yeah.
I thank you for that, because a lot of times you'll be praying or doing these different things, and I'll just be sitting back like, oh, okay, I'll be in that. You know me, babe. I'm gonna be honest.
I love that. Yeah,
Yes.
and I'll tell you something with that as I saw you ease more and build up into yours, it did something completely different for me.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And one of the things, it caused me to face some areas in me where I had to grow up more.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? It
Mhm.
caused me to face some areas I had to grow up, but it also opened up it opened up just kind of like insight, I think, in God, of some other strengths I had. So the more you
Mm.
fell into your uh way God called you to be a wife, the more it pulled on me to become more the man I was supposed to be. Had to let go of
Mm.
certain things, certain
Right.
you know, areas of procrastination or laziness, or give them to God to help me with them. Because I think one thing about it that we often discuss is that this is a work in progress.
Yes.
Any of y'all watching this, you are never going to see Joy and I present ourselves like we've made it anywhere,
Never.
because
Nope.
we are still on a day-to-day journey. But I'll
Yes.
say that as you begin to ease in and grow in more into yours, it even pushed me more. It challenged me more in terms of me being called to a higher level of responsibility and
Mm.
transparency about some of my own weaknesses, and put those before God and you.
Right.
So, I really, I think I value what you're saying there. So that's really good. And I think what you're sharing too is that a marriage is always growing.
Mm-hmm.
Though
Hmm.
me and you are the same people at the core, we are
Yeah.
completely different.
Yes, we are.
I'm gonna
Yes,
just
we
say this
are.
before we go over to motherhood. The me now, I don't understand how you could have stayed married to the me 17 years ago. But
Look, me either. How you stay married to me?
I thank
I'd be like, woo,
God.
child.
I thank God he kept refining us. Because sometimes the kids will say, "Hey, y'all do so great at such." I'm like, y'all are only seeing some of the
Yeah,
us
you
now.
don't even know.
They
You
don't
don't
know.
even know.
We still have so far to go, right? So much more
Right.
God is going to do with us. So I love that. I
Yeah,
love
and one thing I found, like, even with women, when I talk with women, or I like to just study women, you know
that.
what I
Yeah,
mean? A lot of our like I saw over time, a lot of time we see such bitterness in women, and I
yeah,
and I can speak about it because I'm a woman, because I had it.
yeah,
I found a lot of the bitterness came from exhaustion.
yeah, yeah,
So we're overworking
yeah,
ourselves. It reminds me of Martha and Mary in the Bible. You
yeah,
overworking when
yeah,
you don't have to do all of that,
yeah,
you know? And
yeah,
so that exhaustion's turned into the bitterness, the imbalance of emotions,
yeah,
the non-support, the ignoring signs, different
yeah,
things. When a lot of times it's overworking ourselves as women, as mothers, as wives, as workers,
yeah,
and not having a space or making ourselves. Because I know you used to be like, "Hey, go out, go enjoy yourself." I'm
yeah,
like, "No, I gotta go clean. I gotta
yeah.
make these kids some food," and you just sitting there like, "Oh, okay. I gave you that space." You know what I'm saying? But
That's
just
right.
realizing, we really have to take care of ourselves by
Yeah,
slowing ourselves down
yeah,
and listening to our bodies. I had to learn the hard way a lot of
yeah,
times to, like, okay, it's time to sit down somewhere, you
yeah.
know. But
That
I
is
just
big.
learned.
That is big. I like that. And so you actually answered one of the questions I was going to ask, because I was going to
Mm-hmm.
ask you, what would you say to women, or maybe some things they need to be aware of about this? So those who are married and pursuing to get married.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a really good one, because a lot of times we have these pressures on us from society or our family or ourselves that are not always in line with the pressures God would have us to live by according to His standard. So that's really good. And
Right.
getting closer to Him allows us to learn these hard lessons. That
Mm-hmm.
not every pressure we're putting on ourselves is for us in that particular way at times. So that's
Exactly.
good.
And a lot of times when you're given that space, it if you can sit down somewhere as a
Yeah.
woman in a
Come on.
marriage, that gives a man space to do what he has to do.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times those things were like mingling too much together when I was, supposed to be resting while you're taking care
Yeah.
of the business. I was raised with, the go-getters. You just go get, you
Yeah.
do. You sitting down, you lazy, take
Yeah.
initiative, do this, you know what I'm saying? But learning that doing all of that doesn't sometimes allow space for the man in the
Come
household
on. Yeah.
at the same time, so he can find what he needs to be doing for the family and what he needs to be looking for the vision of the family.
Ah, come on. I love that.
Yeah.
You exposing something that I think that's
Right.
a whole talk we could get on
Mhm.
one day. You and I are gonna do a talk on that together about some
Right.
of the modern day distractions and modern day landmines that we aren't even aware of because we live in such a different time
Right.
where it is so easy for us to get off track with the distractions, some things like two-parent working households, or
Hmm.
how do you attend to each other's needs? How do you get yourself unstuck from bad patterns where
Mm.
some of the chaos that as husband and wives we're bringing in doesn't have to be? Because sometimes we're distracting ourselves from being able to walk in our roles to create more peace and abundance
Right.
by following God rather than just following our own pattern. So that's going to be a whole other discussion that I think that you and I are going to have a good discussion on together one day. So that's a
Oh
good,
yeah.
open up space for each other's true roles
Right.
according to the word, not the world,
Exactly.
you know. So I like that. I love that, babe. So with that, not only have you been a wife, because you were a wife from 2006 to 2009, and then the role changed.
Yes. Woo.
Talk about motherhood, right?
Oh
Like,
man.
what do you know now that you didn't know about motherhood before you became one?
Um, you ain't gonna be perfect.
Come on.
Okay. Just like God gave us grace and repentance, you're not gonna be perfect. You're figuring things out, George. There's some mistakes that you're gonna make. There's sometimes you're gonna have to go to your children and be like, look, my bad. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I
Yes.
took it too far.
Yes.
And also learning that joy still takes space for yourself
Yeah.
while being a wife, while
Yeah.
being a mother. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay for your children to have that space to learn
Yeah.
things without you being in the mix.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
Just a backstory. When our son was born, he was, you know what I mean, um, he was born uh premature.
Yes.
So that already changed your view, you know
It
what I'm
did.
saying, of being um a mother,
Yeah.
because you're overprotective now.
Yeah.
You underweight, like, okay, I got to do all this.
Yeah.
I'm breastfeeding. I got to go back to work and all these things,
Yeah.
and I would say enjoy motherhood. Slow down,
Yeah.
enjoy motherhood, enjoy those late nights
Yeah.
and those cuddles and everything. I
Yeah.
would start from there first.
I love that
Hmm.
because I tell you, we had a good learning, hardcore advanced learning experience with the first one, and it taught us a lot, and then it
Yeah.
extends uh, to your next child or children,
Hmm.
um, and to take it a little bit further. What do you know now that you didn't know about raising children in the school system
Oh
and
my
raising them
gosh.
through their young years up into the school system age? That's what I just felt led to ask just now.
The school, oh my goodness,
Yeah,
it's so much. It's um be aware.
yeah,
Like, that's one thing I learned from my mother. Like, if I had a switch in my attitude or anything coming from school, like, she'd be like, "What's wrong with you? Something going on? What happened?"
yeah,
I used to be like, "Dang, calm down, mom. I'm just going through." But I found myself doing the same thing because as a mother, you have that intuitive thing, which are,
yeah,
we were connected by umbilical cord. So
yes,
there's, you just know, like, okay, something's off. I would stay on guard, stay on post,
yeah,
stay on post, because me and you always talk about how of course your children are going to pick things up for school. They're in a
Right.
school for 8 hours
Yeah.
away from you, learning God knows what
Right.
for 8 hours. Their attitudes are going to change,
Yeah.
but you have to have a combative force, a
Yeah.
defense and an offense going in
Come on.
to be able to stay vigilant with your children.
Yeah.
And it's basically warfare, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, in these schools, because the questions our children come home with, sometimes I'm just like,
Ooh.
oh my.
Come on.
I'm like, deep breath, Joy.
Come on.
I thought it was bad when I was growing up, but my goodness,
Come
it's
on.
on a whole nother level. I don't even know in the next 10 years where it's gonna be. We just got to
Yeah.
keep praying, y'all.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say about that.
Absolutely. I love that. Now,
Yeah,
as you're talking, so many memories are starting to pop up in my head, you
yeah.
know. And one of the things that I've really been grateful for is just being able to be in one accord
Hmm.
between you and I, because I think about how um, when you are even at the place of giving birth,
Hmm.
so many people are trying to define for you
Right.
what your experience is going to be. When you
Yes.
get into these schools or even
Yes.
childcare,
Yes.
so many people are going to try and define or
Hmm.
diagnose your
Hmm.
situation.
Hmm.
And I'm thankful that you and I were able to have conversations and to have each other's back and say, God has the final say
That's
over
right.
our children, not
That's
any
right.
hospital, not
That's right.
any school, no test.
Hmm.
And we were able
That's
to
right.
reinforce that. And you have been a great nurturer of that in the home, setting the atmosphere for structure, order, bedtimes,
You better
dieting,
believe
all those
it.
things that you do in the home have an impact on the child when they're out in the world. So I just thought about those memories, even some of the struggles we had with our son, where they would try and say, well, he's this or
Yeah.
he's that. And we would come together and say, he's not.
No, he's not that.
We're not going, you're not going to label him. You're not going to put him here and there. And
Right.
seeing God's faithfulness in bringing him completely on the other side to being like an honor roll student, but
Yeah, that's
had to
right.
go along with some other things.
Right.
And had you not buckled down as a mother, I just am thankful to God
Right.
for just my memories for you as a mother and how you mothered them through some of those things.
Absolutely. And just even like thinking back on when our son was born, and they had all this NICU coming in there. I mean, I think I was like 1 month ahead of schedule. He was born 1 month premature. And I was just like panicking. I was starting to like hyperventilate and stuff. And you was like, and thank God you came in there. You was like, no, he's gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. And you said a prayer. It's like my whole body just relaxed. It was like, man, that's why we need praying people, y'all.
Yes.
We need some praying people, because in that moment everything eased, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that's just been how we've been parents in the beginning. There have been
Yeah.
so many different obstacles. I know people look at our kids and like, oh, they're so good or this and that. I'm like, man, you don't
Don't
even
even know.
know this stuff that
Yeah.
we've had to pray about. And just as parents, switching our what we want to do with them, like midstream, we like, okay, now they need this. Okay,
Yeah.
now we need to do this with them,
Yeah.
because you can't just like one way fits
Yeah.
all. Like,
That's
you
it.
really have to listen to God and know what your child needs
Yeah.
at the right time.
That's it.
And we're not scared to go against the grain. And
Yeah.
we've gone in those meetings and talk to different teachers and be sitting in there like, okay, no,
Yeah.
we're not going to take that,
Yeah.
and it is only by grace that it has worked out for us,
Yeah.
not by us.
Yeah.
It's the wisdom of God that has come through us,
Yeah.
that we always have an open ear and an open heart to that.
Yeah.
And I just thank God for your leadership with that, because you started that in the beginning in that in that room when we was first giving birth. So
Yeah.
it's just stuck with both of our children.
Yeah, I think this is so important because what I'm hearing in our conversation is one accord. That's the biggest
Yes.
thing. I want to
Yes,
say
yes,
this real
yes,
quick to
yes.
men. To
Mhm.
men, men, we have to be a stress reliever and not a
Mhm.
source of stress to our women.
Yes.
We
Yes.
really got to work on that, and we've got to be before God's face to make sure that we're not a source of stress, but a source of stress relief.
Right.
Because then that allows you as mothers and wives to sense and see things that we can't see, so that we can work together in being a foundation and a protective fortress for these
Mhm.
babies because they need it.
Yes.
So like I said, man, I'm just grateful that we've been able to see God's hand in the midst of a lot of battles, because following the Lord don't exempt you from struggles.
Mm-mm.
Don't give you no
You in the
free
battle
pass.
stronger.
In that fact, yeah, you may have some different, but he's going to be there with us.
That's right. That's right.
So I love that, man. And I just remember the structure you had in the home when I would be at work, and you had that order. You was a warden.
She used to call me Warden.
You was a warden. I'd be coming back home late, but I saw the impact that it was having.
Mhm.
And so I said, you know what, I got to help enforce that and support that, and be there because you had a powerful structure, and we had a good level of agreement. Um,
Absolutely. And when you have those trials and tribulations, know that there is a other side and a plan. I'm gonna lie, sometimes that plan be mad uncomfortable, don't it? You be like,
yes,
"Dang, I gotta do all this."
yeah,
But the outcome, like I know we were reversing some things. So I
yeah,
know for like a year, we didn't watch TV, we didn't do this, we didn't do
hmm
that. We was trying to get structure back
hmm
in the house because that's what they needed at that time.
that's
So
right.
there's gonna be sacrifice that
Yeah,
you're gonna have to make to get to the other
come
side,
on,
and
there
that's
you
with
go.
anything.
Yeah,
um your plan, a lot of time God give you a plan, you be like, man, I'm gonna have to sacrifice all that,
yeah,
but the outcome of that sacrifice is so great and it's so glorious that
yeah,
it's worth going through.
come on,
So I think back some of the things that we've done over the years.
yeah.
Woo we I'll be like, I don't know if people want to go through the sacrifice
I
we
didn't
did.
want to go through it. I was like, Lord, I was like, how long we going? Sometimes you feel like, how long this gonna take? But when you love your family, right?
Mhm.
I remember some of those times we deprived the whole houses. I mean, one time the Lord was like, take these electronics out of here.
Yep, everything.
It's like
Yep.
a year. I mean, my
Yep.
son still remember. He like, no electronics, no nothing. We was
For
just going,
anybody.
nobody. We was going full Amish, you know, and it was amazing because, like you said, there are days you like, man, how long are we gonna? When are we gonna see the results? But like
Mhm.
you said, parenting, marriage, and parenting according to the will of God is going to require you to go without some things,
Yes, yes.
so that you can invite the presence of God in to show you slowly where He wants you to be. So I love that. I
Mhm.
love that. I love
Mhm.
that. So we're going to take it to another place.
All right.
We could talk so much about each one of these. This is like just an intro
Mhm.
interview, right?
Mhm.
in in your years, you've been a wife, you've been a mother for 14 years now. Based on our oldest, been a wife for 17 years. Somewhere in that space, you became an entrepreneur. I know maybe there are probably times in being a mother and a wife in the past you may not have imagined that. But talk a little bit about the process of going from wife to mother to this. Where did the entrepreneurship come from to start a business?
Um, well, when I first started out, I always had that entrepreneur spirit because like my dad's a like serial entrepreneur, and it,
Yeah,
he's always been a go-getter kind of person. So I've always seen that. But for me, I was like, when I got married, I was like, man, I just want to be a mother and a wife, and I go to work and everything be great,
yeah,
but it's like a lot of time God wants more for us. We just got to go
Yeah.
there,
Come
you
on.
know.
Come
So
on.
I felt that tug. You know, you start feeling that tug. All right,
Yeah.
all right, Joy, what you gonna do now? I'm like, man, I'm happy. What I don't want to
Yeah.
do anything else, you know. So I started feeling that tug of and I've always been like, I never thought I was creative because like
Yeah.
I can't draw or anything
Hmm.
or do different things, but creativity comes in so many different
Yes.
ways. You know,
Yeah.
I just have this, I have a lot of times, like, especially now, I'll sit down and I just have these visions of different things and just my mind is just be like sparking everywhere. I'm like, babe, I can see this. And then you just look at me, okay, babe. I'm like, you know, because
Yeah.
it's the creative mind that I can see it now. A lot of times I don't have the material to do it, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But but a lot of times I do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it came up just that tugging in me saying, okay, well, don't you want to do something different? I'm like, okay, you know. And so I decided to dilly and dab with during COVID shutdown. You know, I don't like idle time. I'm always
Oh, yeah.
like, I can't just take naps all day.
Yeah.
That's just not me. You know, I got to learn. I'm reading different things. And so I started going into, I've always used like natural soap for the last 10
Yeah.
years because my skin is very sensitive. But a lot of times I would go to the store, especially during COVID, I couldn't find the one that I
I remember
used.
that.
I was like, man, I can't use this other mess. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make my own soap. Now the first few times, hot mess, okay? And so, but you know I'm persistent.
Oh, yeah.
But so I just started like, okay, well, I'm gonna keep going on with it because I want to make my own soap. I'm tired of running around town or going online and taking 2 weeks and I only got a sliver of soap left.
Yeah.
So I started reviewing it and I started making my own soaps. And then one day we was like, well, why don't you sell it? I think my best friend, she was like, Joy, because I sent her some. She was like, I would
Yeah.
so buy this. I'm
I
like, you
remember
would?
that.
You know, you buy myself? And so I was like, just perfecting it and different things and just, you know, just went from there. And one thing I found, once you've um, done one creative things, it
Yeah.
opens the doorway for so
Come
much
on.
more.
Yeah.
So then I started like making my own website. I've never made a
Yeah.
website before. Like I don't know what I'm doing, but
Yeah.
research, Google it, you know, it's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Make it and just going into different products and then the research of just how toxic our world really is.
Yeah.
You know, you get to a point, I'm like, are they trying to kill us? You know,
Come on. You start drawing some conclusions the more you read, right?
uh,
Oh
just being
God.
honest.
Yeah.
Because when you start if you start reading these, you remember I used to send you so many videos. I'm like, hey, look what's in here. Look what's in that. Oh my goodness, they got this and this. Why would
Yeah.
they do that? Even in our textiles of our shirts, the chemicals in it, it's
Yeah.
crazy. Our detergents, everything. And so that just gave me a desire to want to live healthier for our family. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
if God gave me this, I can't just not share it with other people because
Yeah.
this is like coming like a mini mission that
Yeah.
maybe turn into a major one. And so I just was like, you know, people need to be aware of not just to make money or anything. It's just getting the material out there that this stuff is scary, you
Yeah.
know, our toothpaste, everything. And it's just, and while I was doing it, I also had to balance being a
Yeah.
wife, being a
Right.
mother, still going to work, being a
Yeah.
daughter, all these different things. But found one thing I found is you can intertwine a lot of that stuff together. I spent a lot of time with my daughter
Yeah.
doing the things
That's right.
together.
That's
You know what
right.
I mean? Or talking to my son about different things. Like me and my son, we love to joke around and
Yeah.
play around. And just finding those times that you can intertwine all these things together. So um, and I just love it. I love it. That's
Yeah.
another part of it. Make sure it's something you love, that
I,
it's not work,
yeah.
you
I
know?
think it's amazing because you can tell by what you're saying that there's a correlation between your growth in Christ and what
Mhm.
He's allowing you to explore and grow in.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
so I think that that's so important, and it's really been amazing to me to watch. You
Mhm.
know, that as you've gotten more into your God-given creativity, because I remember used to make with my little sister the
Mhm.
bath bombs.
Yeah, yeah,
Years before you ever did this, we were
yeah.
making bath bombs and did
Mhm.
so that creativity's always been there. I've always tried to champion your creativity. And the more you walk into it, and the more you've grown with Christ, the more I've seen you multiply. And I'm just like, wow, I went from soap to shea butter and things that, different things of that nature. And I tell you what's coming to me right now. Let me ask you this, because there are maybe mothers or wives, uh, entrepreneurs who are watching this. So I want to ask you, as a mother and a wife, entrepreneur, but most of all, a daughter of God, a daughter of Zion, right? I want to ask you something here. What have you learned about how to protect your growth?
Mm.
What are some things you've had to learn about how to protect your growth? What things have you had to bring more of into your life and maybe let go of or change or focus on?
Um, One of our biggest hindrance sometimes are people.
Mm,
Sometimes we don't need to tell people everything about what we're pursuing or what
come
we're
on.
doing or where we're going.
Yeah.
And when you do shut those doors to that, God's gonna give you people that will support you,
Yeah.
will put into you, will give you words of knowledge and different things,
Yeah.
and just motivate you to do those things. So um definitely I found that, when you have these creativities or these growth spurts, just be careful. Not
Yeah.
everybody's a friend.
Yeah.
Our friends become foes real quick,
That's right.
but
That's right.
but in that, when you do, just like we said, when you're drawing that line in the sand, it's like all these other things are going to open up for you that
That's
you be
it.
like, oh man, wow, there are so many different supportive areas that people can help you in. Um, and then also with growth, never stop growing. Like
Yeah.
me and you always say, we have never made it. I am not the best wife. I
Yeah.
am not the best mom. I'm not, but I'm becoming her. You know
That's
what I
it.
mean?
Come on.
I'm progressing towards her.
Yes.
And it's just like, um, I know one of our friends got married a couple of years ago, and I remember it was, you had to write something down, like what would you tell this person
Yeah.
that's newly married? I said, never stop growing,
That's
never
it.
stop reading, never stop reading the word of God, never stop reading about relationships or parenting and different things. Always want to be better,
Yeah.
always want to grow.
Yeah. I
Never
love
think
that.
you've arrived,
I
because
love
that's when
that.
the enemy come in like, oh, you think you comfortable? Okay, let
That's
me
it.
sling this over here to you, you
That's
know?
it.
So yeah.
I love that, because the one last thing, because I'm just dealing, I'm staying in this vein. I don't know why the Lord's kind of leading me here, but protecting your growth. And here's the one last one I want to hit to you. Uh,
Mhm.
how do you overcome those periods when you want to quit? Because I'm gonna
Mm.
be real. I tell people, you're not married till you question it. You're not a parent till you be like, what did I do? You know what I'm saying? You're not an entrepreneur till you like, I want to let this, you know what I mean? There are
Yeah.
going to be those periods where you want to quit. Talk about where you've applied everything that we're talking about. How have you dealt with those rough times?
Wow. Yeah. There have been a lot of rough times, in the business, and be real, marriage and
Mhm.
different areas that you just be like, man, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Like, good night. You know
Yes.
what I mean? But yeah, and just when those periods come, um, I like to buckle down and fight. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? A lot of times, I think like we've um gotten into a good place where we know where we are.
Yeah.
Like if something happens in our life, both of us, that affects both of us,
Yeah.
Usually I'm gonna be quiet for a day or two because I'm getting enough strength to fight. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like I just be like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
But one thing is just it's the fight in you
That's it.
has to come out at those times
Yeah.
because that's usually when that fight comes, and we've noticed this a pattern in our life. When that fight comes, on the other side of that fight is
Yeah.
where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
But if you're not willing to fight, you're just gonna go halfway there and just fall back down. And
Yeah.
now you're worse than where you started.
Yes.
So it's just remembering that those times are gonna come,
Yeah.
and on the other side of it is where you're supposed to be,
Yeah.
and just keeping that momentum and knowing and enjoy the good times.
Yeah.
Enjoy them and
That's it.
remember them when times do get hard. Like I know even in marriage, like our first 10 years of marriage was really hard, you know,
Yeah.
because we were young, we were
Yeah.
learning each other and everything. But I had to so many times go back in my mind and just be like, okay, Joy, remember the good times,
Yeah.
remember our vows, remember what we're trying to create in this
Yeah.
life, and just kind of holding on to them. Sometimes, by like I said, about a hem of the robe. That's I was like, let me just touch just a little bit so I can remember. And so that's my motto. I'm like, "Ah, I might not be strong in my hole, but I'm touching it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get there.
That's
You know,
right.
and you know that's and just be um one thing we do as a married couple. We're very truthful with each other.
Yeah.
Like
Come on.
mad truthful.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
very truthful.
Yeah.
Like when we have thoughts or things that are bothering us, we can be naked and unashamed
Oh yeah.
in front of each other. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That's how we're supposed to be. We're not supposed to hold that stuff in.
That's
And
it.
that's one thing I love about you. Like I could tell you anything. It could be some crazy thoughts, you know. I'd be like, da, 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 back in the day. And you'd be like, all right, okay, so what we gonna do about it?
That's right.
Like, we're not gonna stay here. So what we gonna do about it, you know?
That's right.
So that's another thing, just being mad truthful.
Don't avoid the tough conversation. Anybody that's
Yes.
watching this, don't avoid the tough conversation. And I'm gonna quote a preacher we saw like maybe a couple of weeks ago. I don't remember his name. I'll probably tag his name because I want to give him credit for this. He
Hmm.
said something that hit both of us. He said, "Life doesn't give you what you deserve; it gives you what you're willing to fight for."
That's right.
So
That I love that.
yeah,
Yes,
I'm gonna
that was
quote him and put it somewhere in the comments of this, but I want to tell you all,
yes,
whatever is God's idea, the enemy's going to fight it. He's going to fight it in your
yes,
mind. If he can't get your mind, he's going to get your money. If he can't get your money, he's going to get your children. If he can't get your children, he's going to get something else, somebody in your
the
family.
body. Yeah.
So mind, money, children, one of these areas he's going to try to get you, but you have to be willing to fight and stand upon the word of God.
Hmm.
That's what we always go back to. We've had some raw conversations. And then after we have our conversations about it, sometimes the more you do it, the more quickly the Lord will reveal where the attack is coming from.
Hmm.
So you can get together and fight those battles on your knees and
Mm.
then attack them with the word of God from your voice and your
Right.
actions and your consistency. So I love that. Don't avoid the tough conversation. Life doesn't give you what you deserve, it gives you what you're willing to fight for.
Right.
If God's
Mm.
ordained it, he's going to bless it and carry you through it. So I love that, babe. I really love that. Is there anything that you would like to end off on for anybody viewing this? Anything that you'd like to say?
Um, all things are possible with God. So a lot of times, even on this journey, I'll be like, well, this is all I can do. And then just I see the impossible happen. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like he wants us higher, he wants us further, he
Yeah.
wants us to live this life. Really wants us to live the way we're supposed to be living.
Yeah.
And it's not a boring life,
No.
A lot of people be like, oh, that's looks so boring. You can't
Mm-mm.
do this, you can't do that. I'm like, you have life
Yeah.
is
Come on.
great. You
That's
know what I'm
it.
saying?
Yes.
And just pursuing that and just knowing that you can be a mother, you can be a wife, you
Yeah.
can go to work or stay at home mom
Right.
or be an entrepreneur
Yes.
and be a daughter, sister, all these things and still remain who you are and still remain that connection. So it can be done.
Yeah.
I'm a living witness.
That's right.
This is my testimony, and my testimony is not over. You
That's
know,
right.
I'm still a work, and
That's
I
it.
thank God for the work.
That's it.
Yeah,
He ain't through with us yet.
you ain't through with
Don't
us yet.
trip. God ain't through with us yet. I love that. So as we get ready to close this out, give everyone your website where they can get access to your products and things like that.
So you can check us out at ourhandsnaturalproducts.com. We sell soaps, we sell shea butter, we sell balms, hair moisturizer, and just different things. And you can just check us out, make an order, and we'll ship it to you.
That's it. That's it.
Mhm.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. Um, so family, this has been another Art Talk. I've enjoyed this. Another thing I just want to leave off for all the husbands, wives, mothers, fathers, entrepreneurs, single children of God, sons and daughters of God, make sure too you're in the right environments. That's
Yes.
my thing to always say. You've got to be in the right environments. Like what you said
Yeah.
about protecting your faith, protecting your growth. You've got to be discerning and vigilant about who you're sharing your vision with, your dreams
Right.
with, because those are your babies. You don't leave your baby with anybody, right? So
That's
there's
right.
a baby of a vision and a calling inside of each one of us. You need to be in places where people can see that and they have a genuine desire to see you fulfill it. So I wanted to just share that as well, because everything you said wrapped into that. You've got to be protective of what God has put into you and know that He's also willing to protect what He's put in you as well, right? So
Yes.
I love that. Thank you for coming on, babe. Thank you for coming on. Y'all,
Yes.
we look forward to seeing y'all. Continue to be on the lookout for our videos. Thank y'all for liking and subscribing and commenting and giving your feedback. And thank you once again for coming on. I appreciate you all. And I hope you all have a beautiful week. Peace and
Yeah.
God bless.
God bless.